Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything going on in the world of sports. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken. I'm joining me in studio, as always. You know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And also joining us in studio, senior sports editor of the ODPH. He is your coach. He is my coach. He is the coach, Coach Duffy.
I am a little fatigued because I got on the James Harden diet plan. So if I don't have the same energy as I did, it's just because I'm a little sluggish.
Sluggish
Yeah.
is one way to describe that diet, but we are going to deep dive into it a little
50
later in the
pounds
show.
in 24 hours, guys. It was not easy to do.
Man, you talk about...
Tough.
I can't even wrap my head around that, but we're going to get into that just a little later in the show. But we want you to join in that conversation with us, so definitely head on over to OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Join in the conversation on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Podchaser. Drop a 5-star review while you're there. And always remember to use the hashtag ODPH. So let us kick off the sports edition of the ODPH, recapping the week that was in the NFL. And it is Divisional playoff weekend. Mm-hmm. So we have some 4 games to break down. So, Pad, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, we're going to be doing these in sequential order, a.k.a. when they played. So starting off, we had the Green Bay Packers take on the Los Angeles Rams in Lambeau Field, where the Green Bay Packers won by the final score of 32-18. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 36 for 296 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jared Goff, 21 of 27 for 174 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
Coach, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, without Donald playing and Cooper Kupp out as well, just the Rams, magic ran out. It was just, that's too big of injuries to overcome. I mean, I know Donald played, only missed like maybe a handful of snaps, but he wasn't the same, Aaron Donald of, healthiness.
Right.
And with that, Aaron Rodgers was able to step back in the pocket and execute the offense. I mean, they look good. I'm very excited for this NFC championship matchup. I think this is a great matchup.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely, no disrespect to the Rams, but this seemed like a tune-up game for the Packers, where Rodgers never seemed to be in any rush. He never seemed to be really worried about anything. He didn't get sacked at all. He spread the ball around pretty evenly. Alan Lazard, 96 yards catching. Devontae Adams, 66 yards catching. Robert Tonyan, 60 yards catching. So, spread the ball around pretty evenly, and it just seemed like they were just like, all right, let's try a few things out here.
The one thing we need to remember is Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
Facts.
And when he's in playoff mode, he is a downright scary individual.
When he's in pissed off playoff mode, it's like
it's a whole other level.
It's a whole nother level, man. It's like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. You can't beat him.
No, you can't.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, this game absolutely was. I mean, even for a very game LA Rams defense, the fact that once Rodgers got rolling, he's home. And this is the first time he's been home in a while for the playoffs, too, if memory serves me right.
Something like that,
yeah. No, this is the first home NFC championship game he'll have in his career.
But that being said, he's in his home turf. He knows that he has been on that whole Mamba mentality. I know we throw that around a lot, but he has that. And he is single-handedly willing the Packers through the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And with games like this, he really makes that contention. He should be the MVP outright.
Yeah.
He has been literally dissecting teams with great defenses with ease this year.
Yeah.
I mean, the only hiccup really has been that game against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
In week 6.
Yeah.
And that feels like light years away.
Oh, I mean, it feels like it was like in a whole other season ago with the way that he's playing right now.
Exactly. And the fact that he just torched Jalen Ramsey.
Oh, yeah.
And made him...
Dude, he looked lost.
Yeah.
Lost.
Ramsey, for the amount of trash talk that he was doing.
And he was chirping even pregame.
Mm-hmm. He absolutely looked like he shouldn't have been locked on the field.
No.
Well, I mean, it's just crazy because, like, obviously they were putting Devontae Adams in spots to be successful. I mean, the one play that comes to mind is the touchdown play, where they ran him across the formation. He kind of got picked by his own guy. But I mean, really, if you look at Adam's stats, he only had 66 yards. So it's not an exactly like, tremendous game. Like Jalen Ramsey still did his part, I mean, it's just funny because like, you think about these games and like, and what a quote unquote elite defense is. And I was like thinking about that all weekend because like, everybody, the Saints is a good defense and the Saints kept them in this game, or defense kept them in that game. And the Rams defense kept them in this game. It's like they gave up 32 points, but like what makes a great defense now is causing turnovers.
Ramsey partially did his point because he kept him in check yards wise, but you look at receptions to targets. Devontae Adams, like I mentioned, 9 catches. He got targeted 10 times. So congratulations, Ramsey. You held him in check to 66 yards. He still only didn't catch 1 ball. I feel like if you're going to be a shutdown corner, trash talk everybody in the league, yards, that's great. That looks awesome. But that differential between targets and receptions got to be a little bit bigger.
No, but that's the stat though now is yards. Like if you hold a receiver under 100 yards, you did your business because you can't. I mean, of those catches, how many were bubble screens? How many were quick outs? I mean, like those are routes that are difficult to cover. I mean, if you're talking route tree, it's like, all right, did he stop a deep route? Obviously, because he only had 66 yards. So on 9 receptions, what that tells me, because I couldn't watch the entire game through to through, that tells me that they were probably throwing some quick outs, some bubble screens, some quick screens, just routes to get the ball in his hands quickly so he could be effective. I mean, for the touchdown pass was a 2-yard pass. Right. So it's like, but that's what successful offenses do. They get the ball to their playmakers. I mean, that was the whole thing, do what I normally do. The Giants used to do with Odell Beckham. Get the ball in his hands quickly and let him be a playmaker. I mean, that's what you see on the college front. You see these teams run bubble screens and these screens. It's not because their quarterbacks can't throw the ball. It's because they realize, all right, are we better off with Adam or Devontae Adams having the ball, or are we better with Mac Jones? We're going to we're going to give the ball to Adams.
Right.
And I mean, that's what made Alabama so successful. So, Jalen Ramsey did everything he could to stop him. And okay, 1 pass incompletion. Yeah, it doesn't look great stat wise, but if he was getting the ball up against the line of scrimmage, there's nothing he can do against that. And that's why, like, even now, with who was Revis Island, like even Revis, they were talking about this on one of the shows. Like even Revis today, as good as he was, would have difficulty covering these wide receivers with the kind of routes that they're running.
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, I get what you're saying, but to me, a successful defense now weighs on turnovers, not how much points or whatever they're giving up. If they're causing turnovers, they're a successful defense.
It's a very valid argument, and I'll even say the great example of that this season was Miami.
Right.
Because Miami was horrible about stopping the yardage, but they caused turnovers. So
it's bend, don't break.
Exactly.
I mean, as much as, a lot of fans don't like that, that notion, that's what it's become in the NFL. It's like literally in the game, when we talked the Tampa Bay New Orleans game, it was like hold them to field goals because they're just going to keep driving the ball down. The Kansas City Buffalo game, that is the exact outcome you want because you're not going to stop their offense. So if you force a punt, that's a huge win. You have to score in that drive.
Absolutely.
But if you hold them to a field goal, that's a successful drive because you held them to 3 versus 6.
It's a wild scenario that the game has evolved in that sense.
Yeah.
That defenses, which, I mean, everybody knows with Aaron Donald and Ramsey on there, like the Rams have had a very stacked defense that should be able to shut some teams down.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is just on a different level, and this kind of really showed where they need to step it up for next season because Rodgers is just, I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to stop him.
Dude,
to be honest with you.
You know what's really crazy? Like, so think about, rewind the clock to when, Favre had his last year in Green Bay, led him to an NFC Championship game, lost to the Giants. The next year, they let him go and make the switch to Aaron Rodgers. What do they do here? I mean, when they let Favre go, not only was he on a contract year, but Father Time was starting to show itself, and it was like, all right, we need to move on.
Yeah.
Here you have Aaron Rodgers playing literally the best football of his career, back-to-back seasons, MVP candidate, and now leading your team to the Super Bowl. Like, what do you do this offseason with Jordan Love, as the backup?
One would hope they learn from history, because that whole thing about not learning from history.
If they would have learned from history, they wouldn't have drafted Love.
Well, yeah, but at the same token, though, you got to have a backup plan for eventually. But one would hope that they've learned from history and what happened with Favre. Now, Favre's arm, wasn't quite falling off yet, but, some tendons and ligaments were starting to be missing there, metaphorically speaking. The bulk of his good years were behind him there. He had some flashes of brilliance a couple years after he left Green Bay, but, that's not the same case here. Rodgers is still as good as he is, even a couple of years ago. I don't think they can let him go.
I think the smart move would be Rodgers is still there.
Yeah.
Hold that clipboard and take notes. That is what I think they should do. And I think that Green Bay is smart enough to realize that because Rodgers, like you touch upon, is playing the best football he's played.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
It would be a foolish idea to think that they need to pull the trigger and switch. It'd absolutely be foolish on their part. I think if Rodgers had shown a small decline, as small, I'm not saying a complete fall off, but something to raise an eyebrow.
If he wasn't thrown as deep, if there wasn't the same zip.
Yeah, if there was something in that variation, then I would say, okay, Green Bay really needs to assess. Even though the team is in the NFC Championship, it would still be something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the scenario here.
No.
I completely don't. I think unless something got so toxic like in Houston with Watson, then I think then you would have to be a little wearisome. I don't think it's at this level yet because
because he's still running stuff.
Right, exactly. It's still his team until further notice. I mean, you can't make any drastic moves, and you just have to keep looking forward. And I think for Rodgers, he's just on a mission to prove it to the office that you made a mistake drafting a quarterback. I'm going to let you know that you made a mistake when I'm holding up the Lombardi. So for Green Bay, they got a lot of stuff moving forward. For the Rams, though, I think there's a lot more flags that are showing than not.
Especially since as not great as that Green Bay defense was, they really I realized they gave up 18 points to the Rams, but you would have figured as not great as that defense is, Rams would have scored more.
The Rams will be all right.
Well, I think the two areas I would be concerned with if I was a Rams fan, that McVay and Goff do not seem like they're on the same page. Like there seems to be a major disconnect there. I don't know. Like it just the optics are looking that way.
I don't know. To me, it's like I don't ever know if Goff. Like I obviously McVay. I mean, they signed an extension, so like they have to know he's the franchise guy.
They Carson Wentz'd it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no because like he played he was good last year. I mean, yeah, this season was kind of up and down, but. Robert Woods was out of the lineup at one point. Kupp was out of the lineup.
They had a lot of injuries they had to work with. In fact, Goff with a broken thumb.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there, I don't want to say that there's necessarily trouble in paradise, but there might be a little bit of
I think you're starting to see some storm clouds forming.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it's dire straits. Like I say, this is not a Houston situation.
Oh, God.
I don't know if the problem is so much Goff as it is McVay just not as great of a head coach as we thought.
Maybe.
I mean,
well, it's a lot of success early,
right?
And that's the problem. That sometimes you just get lucky, and that's what happens.
And you see that a lot in other sports. Besides football, baseball, basketball. I mean, baseball especially. Guy comes up from the minor leagues, red hot start, looking like the next greatest thing since Ken Griffey Jr. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks, maybe about a month or so goes by. Teams start getting tape on the guy, and they start figuring him out. And then you go, all right, this is when we're really going to figure out what this kid's about. Mm-hmm. McVay, hottest thing since sliced bread on the field. Then they got the tape on what he does and what he can do, and they figured him out. And he's yet to really, change the wheel a little bit and gone, all right, we got to adjust some things.
Yeah,
I mean, they ran the Wildcat for pretty successful percentage of time.
So did Miami, like.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like they weren't expecting that. It's not like they showed that on game tape. Like I'm just saying like is it the finer like finite things that make him maybe can he remember things? Sure. I mean he probably remembers what he had for breakfast in the start of 7th grade. But like as far as being outcoached, I mean now this is another game where Matt LaFleur outcoached him, so
I think it was more Aaron Rodgers outcoached.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, they now, they lose their defensive coordinator going into this offseason, which I know you're probably absolutely ecstatic about because Dabble was 100% had that job.
Well, to kind of just touch upon too, Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator of the Rams, is now going to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep.
And there was a report that broke that said Brian Dabble, the Bills' offensive coordinator, had the job.
Yeah. That's going into NBC was reported.
Yeah.
Like, it was on their air. They were like, Florio came on and was like, it looks like, Dabble's got the job for the Chargers. And I was like, oh, man, I wonder if that's going to weigh on him, going into coaching this game, blah, blah, blah.
I felt the same way, but then when it came out after that Staley got the job, I was like, wait, what is going on here? For a Bills fan, I'm happy about it. And for the Rams, this is going to be something that McVay's got to really assess and get the right guy in there, because you have a good defense in there.
Yeah.
You don't want to see it fall.
I figure if nothing else in the offseason, you can pick up a few more solid guys on offense. I'm not saying any AAA, 5-star, home run guys, that everyone's eyes go, ooh, but just some little guys a little more consistent, because I'm sorry, Cam Akers, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp are not exactly like, I'm going, ooh, fantasy guys. All right.
They're good, but they're not great.
Yeah. You need some better guys.
They need to do some upgrading, and they'll be having time to do that on the offseason, because their starts now.
What I liked about Stanley, though, finding out, was he was a college quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, and I was thinking about this, going, I was getting ready to go to bed, and, doing my mental shit for this, we're going to talk sports tomorrow. Let me mentally prep before bed.
Aww.
And I was like, when's the last time, a head coach was, a new coach, like the coaches of today? So not like the Norv Turners or the coaches of yesteryears, when's the last time, a head coach was an actual, overall seer of something? You know what I mean? Had his hands and pulse on everything, to the point where, an Andy Reid, helps out with the defense a little bit, or Belichick doesn't do much with the offense, but I'm sure he sprinkles it in there. But, Stanley's going to know how to run the offense efficiently and still be a defensive mind, because he played quarterback at an elite level in college.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Chargers have got a real steal in this. Because I didn't even hear anything about Stanley was looking for a job.
No.
Or Staley was looking.
I heard next year.
Yeah.
He was going to be the name. That was going to be the hot name, was going to be him.
Yeah. So it's very surprising, but the Chargers, they could definitely use him. And like I say, the Rams off season starts now, so they're definitely going to have to do some work to make sure they stay in that NFC West race. But let us switch gears, because we did talk about Brian Dabble. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about those Buffalo Bills, shall we?
I'm not sure anybody cares about this game, but, we'll talk about it anyway.
You slanderous tongue, you.
The Buffalo Bills took on the Baltimore Ravens from Buffalo, where they won by the final score of 17-3. Josh Allen, 23 of 37 for 206 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Lamar Jackson, 14 of 24 for 162 yards passing, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Also, Tyler Huntley, because Lamar Jackson did have to leave the game at one point, 6 of 13 for 60 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions.
Coach, your thoughts?
I mean, the Bills look good. Listen, they had one job, which was stopping Lamar Jackson early on. It definitely, I was a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Obviously the Bills offense was firing on all cylinders, but it was going to be stopping Lamar Jackson, and they eventually started doing that and held him to field goals. Talk about stopping and bending, not breaking. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what the Bills defense needs to do going into next week. Bend, don't break.
Yeah.
Just don't let them score touchdowns. And if you do, you got to come right back on the next drive and score. My alarming thing is the Bills ran 40 straight pass plays. It was 20. It was legitimately 28 straight passing calls.
Yeah.
Which is a little nerve-wracking when you're talking about maybe deflating the ball just a little bit so you can limit Kansas City. But, it works.
I have my thoughts on that, but I'll let Pat jump in.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so my thoughts on that is I agree with you, Coach. I was very alarmed by the play calling of Dabble. And I understand what the announcers were saying on the game, but I thought it was a little bit of a stretch. Because what their argument is, the Bills saw what the Ravens did to Derrick Henry last week.
Right.
So we don't want any kind of running plays against them, because they'll just get shut down.
Sure.
That makes a little bit of sense, because
logic checks out.
But the logic checks, but it's also a difference of the Bills do not exactly have the best running.
Right.
team.
Well,
Say
that's
Devin Singletary and TJ Yeldon. No disrespect to either of you, but you're not Derrick Henry.
I mean, that's playing to your weakness or playing to a strength. They know they don't run the ball very well, so why?
They know
try
they
to?
know they don't run the ball well, and yeah, Baltimore shut down one of, if not the best running back in the league right now. We ain't got two guys
Right.
who combined don't come near his talent.
Right.
Why the fuck are we going to try it?
But I think the point is you have to try keeping the defense honest.
Well, I mean, I tweeted that because as the game went on, they were still running play action, and I'm like, how is this gonna work?
Exactly.
Like, you can't run play action when when you've ran the ball a grand total of 16 times. But Baltimore's linebackers were still biting, and I'm like, that's when I said the tweet. Like, the thing that I learned from this game the most is you do not have to have a successful run game to run play action.
Yeah, because
unless Baltimore's biggest thing was, and their defensive coordinator's like, we need to stop the run. Like, if that was their commitment to stop the run, and their linebackers just bit on fakes because that's what they practice, dumb on them. But if it's not, and they were just trying to commit to stopping the run, then you don't need a run game.
yeah, it was just kind of a little puzzling about that. I thought Dabble should have switched it up a little, like nothing super crazy, but exactly what you're touching upon.
No, now you sound like bar guy.
I know.
Easy. Yeah, they don't need to run the ball. Let them keep throwing. All right.
Well, I had no issue with it, but I'm just saying for going down the rest of the playoffs, I think the Bills have to try mixing it in a little bit. Like I said, I'm not a full bar guy that was like screaming the world is ending.
Going into Kansas City. All right. Obviously, an away game. Kansas City has a very good secondary. Yeah, I think, Patrick Mahomes will play. You got to keep them off the field, and the way to do that is to run the ball.
Yeah,
you got to control clock.
It's going to be a challenge because Singletary is not the every down back. He isn't. He's a good change of pace back. I like him. I like him catching out of the backfield. That's where I think he really makes his bread and butter there.
Yeldon ran hard,
but I think that they are definitely going to miss Zach Moss because I think he was a harder runner.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like that's the problem. I think Yeldon will get you those yards, but he's not that grind back that Moss was. And I know that Devontae Freeman was supposed to has not cleared yet, or I don't know what's going on there.
Well, the COVID protocol, I think, for the NFL, basically meant because they signed him, I think, on Monday, was essentially like there was no chance of him playing this game, but
because it was Saturday.
Okay, that makes sense.
Coach has got a point because if the game would have been Sunday, I think he'd have been good.
Yeah, I think he would have been able to play.
That was the thing. I wasn't exactly sure because I don't.
Yeah, there's something about
signing period and all that jazz.
There's something about, and I forget the exact wordage, but it's like there's a certain number of days that a new guy has to be with a team, and it entails to when your game is. So
it's like 7 days.
If the game would have been on Sunday, he probably would have been good, but because it was Saturday, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense because I wasn't sure if he was pre-quarantined, like if he was isolated away, would they give a waiver, whatever the case is. But I think when him being on that team on Saturday, I think will be an X factor for him.
Yeah, he ran pretty hard for the Giants. I mean, when they signed him, I kind of got a laugh because I was a pro Wayne Gallman guy, so I was like, what do you really need to sign Devontae Freeman for? But I mean, the brief games that he was there, I think, before he got hurt himself, which was like 3 or 4, he ran the ball hard.
Yeah, he'll be an adequate back for what they need him for.
You know what they could have used and would have probably hoped for was if the Giants would have not have signed Alfred Morris, because he was running the ball real hard.
Yeah, he was very motivated.
Freeman showed some moments of old Atlanta Freeman, with the Giants, but few and far between. But Alfred Morris was making holes when there weren't any.
Well, I think what the Bills are going to need is going into the AFC Championship, they're going to need the best out of everybody to win this game. And
they're going to need to play a damn near perfect game.
Exactly. And I think that they have the ability to do that, but they got to have a little balance on that offense just to keep Kansas City honest because they don't necessarily need to run a lot.
I beg to differ. I think the Bills can play the game they've been playing.
Yeah.
Right now, Kansas City is not. I mean, is Tyreek Hill a dynamic playmaker? 100%. Is Travis Kelce, the greatest tight end to ever play tight end? Sure. Sammy Watkins a threat? Hardman? Yeah, sure.
Andy Reid, balls of steel when it comes to play calling.
I know.
We'll get into that.
Are they really playing the best football they've played?
No. No, and I think the Bills can definitely hang with them. I know that when they faced them in the beginning of the year, they almost beat them. And then, granted, that was a sloppy game, too.
I mean, they looked like – I did not think the Bills played well that game.
Right, no, they didn't. They played absolutely horrible. So to see them now get that rematch coming up, they are not the same team. I think that they'll have a better performance. The only thing that scares me is, can Leslie Frazier design a defense to shut down Travis Kelce?
Oh,
because he hasn't
Christ.
shown me how he can slow down a tight end in this playoffs to begin with.
Hey, welcome to being a Giants fan where Jason Witten, Zach Ertz dominated the Giants for 6 straight years.
He's given Belichick fits, and that's when we had our defensive players.
Yeah, so that being said...
but I don't... That's the thing, though. Don't shut him down. You let him get his stuff. It's the old Kobe or Shaq thing. Can you stop both Kobe and Shaq? No. But if you stop one and let the other one go off for 60, now you have a better chance of winning the game because Shaq might only get 15 or 20 points. Mm-hmm. Kobe might get 60. That's 80. If you limit the team, the rest of the players, you're all right. So Travis Kelce goes off for 100 yards, but you hold the wide receivers, you might be successful. And without their run game, without the rookie, who I will not say his name because I'm gonna get it wrong, if he can't play, which I don't think he will, and playoff Darryl shows up, that might be a problem. But I'm not worried about their run game.
No, I would not necessarily be too worried about the run game because they mirror the Bills a lot in their offense.
Sure.
So I'm
or do the Bills mirror the Chiefs?
Well,
I mean, what came first here?
Yeah, no, exactly. Everybody's copying the Chiefs.
Yeah, all right.
I will admit that. I'm not saying the Bills wrote the book on it, but I think what's going to be very interesting to see is how the Bills are going to match up because they did take on a very durable Baltimore defense, and that first half.
Well, Baltimore defense that had been rampant. They've been building up going into this game.
Yeah, because I looked at the stats for the regular season. They were not anything special.
Dude, New England game, they were so bad.
Because I looked it up, they were sixth. They were about sixth best, in the league in terms of passing yards allowed per game, which was still like 4,000.
They looked terrible against New England. I thought after that New England game, that's when I was like, this thing's unraveling.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they turned it around after that, but that was, I thought, the start of the end.
Well, for the Ravens, though, they did get better as the season went on defensively, and they finally let Lamar Jackson be Lamar Jackson, which he is not a pocket quarterback.
Sure.
So the fact that we got him to be a running quarterback, that's what led to their success.
Well, it's all about, so it's so weird with him because it's a twofold thing that I've seen. Because the Giants did this against Russell Wilson, who obviously is not the most mobile compared to Lamar Jackson. But, if you take your two defensive tackles and you just kind of let one push the pocket back and have your DNs run upfield but contain, you really limit his ability. And then maybe a blitzer or a stunt or a twist, whatever. Like you do something like that to confuse the offensive line to let there be pressure. If you do those things, you're going to be successful against that guy. But once you break contain, once that defensive tackle gets out of position as far as pushing and tries to pursue, that's when he breaks it and goes.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw. The one run that he had was what happened. He broke contain and was able to get outside the defensive end of Buffalo and run for, some yardage.
Yeah. Once both teams got in the second half, they started getting a little more free about what they were doing. I mean, obviously Justin Tucker had his worst kicking game in history.
Nuts.
Every time somebody says,
Al Michaels.
Justin, every time, and it's not just Al Michaels. I know Nance has done it countless times.
Nance has done it thousands of
where
times.
they go, Justin Tucker never misses a kick. Jinx misses it.
Yeah, which, I mean, both...
But dick move, by Michaels to do that. I mean, not only did he cause the double doink, but now he causes, Justin Tucker to have the worst game of his life.
Yeah,
that's not cool.
It was a bad jinx, and both kickers looked absolutely atrocious.
Like I very vividly remember a playoff game in New England against Baltimore where Baltimore could have won it. And Jim Nance goes, this should be... Tucker should make this. He never misses, and, wide left.
I mean, to be fair, has Bass looked good all year?
No,
the better question is, has Ken been able to watch a Bass extra point all year?
Yeah.
No.
I get it.
I know this for a fact. I've watched games with him where he will look away or look at his phone when Bass is going to kick a ball.
Yeah, I picked him up week 1 of fantasy because I was playing Darnold or Josh Allen in fantasy, in our league, and I was like, all right, and I saw Buffalo scoring touchdowns, and I'm seeing him with 1 point. I'm like, Buffalo has 34 points. Why does he have one field goal made?
And you know what the scary thing is? He was like the season high scorer this year.
Yeah, but that's such bullshit.
I know, but
that whole thing.
But in all consideration, like for where he should be in that list,
can we also give a moment of positivity here and just Stephon Diggs? How fun is he to watch football? Play football.
He is amazing to watch
Isn't he
football.
not just him and Josh Allen? I know the whole they played warfare together and they were on the Xbox, whatever, building rapport. Like cool, but the connection that they have is Steve Young to Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful.
Yeah,
it is. That one deep ball that they missed on when he just outthrew him. I was goddamn. I mean, to outthrow Stephon Diggs is hell of impressive.
No, the Bills would not be anywhere near this level if Diggs was not on the team.
No, hell no. Greatest trade in the last 5 years, I would say.
I will give you that. And just kind of wrap up about the Bills, I thought they did a very classy move, Bills Mafia, which Lamar Jackson unfortunately did get hurt in this game.
Sure.
And then after the game, the Bills Mafia has been donating to his charity.
$290,000.
Well, he stayed after and signed autographs,
Right.
even for Bills fans.
Yeah.
Listen, don't take. I mean, Lamar Jackson's a great guy.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know he'll get ridiculed and everything for the playoff success or lack thereof right now, but the dude off the field is top shelf.
He's top shelf off the field, and you know what? He has been put in some situations that have been tough for any quarterback to go into.
I mean,
And
look at his wide receiver core. You
Exactly.
have Dez Bryant as your number 2. Come on.
Flip it this way. If Stephon Diggs was on Baltimore's team, whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Ravens, I'm going to get a number 1, even if I got to mortgage the farm and move up the draft.
I don't let's talk about the 4 teams that are still in the playoffs and talk about who they have at wide receivers. I've said it all year. You have to have an elite wide receiver to be successful. Mm-hmm. Adams,
Yep.
Tyreek Hill, Diggs, Mike Evans.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay has Godwin too. So, I mean, they've got bonus because they've got 2.
They've got a lot.
They've got 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Antonio Brown's been kind of a shell this year. But, I mean, Godwin has been inconsistent, but, is still a top, I don't know, probably 15.
Consistent enough for my fantasy team.
Yeah, I would say top 20.
Top 20. So he's still a top 20 wide receiver. But, I mean, of those 4 that are in it, are they arguably not the 4 best wide receivers in the game?
It's a great argument. No, I'm not faulting you
Right.
on that. I'm just like...
Well, I know you're not because it's right. Yeah. I mean,
No,
that's...
because unless you swap in, if DeAndre Hopkins was still in there...
Okay, yeah,
it's
you could put him up there. You could also put Julio Jones. I would, in that discussion would be there. But, and Mike Thomas, Michael Thomas in New Orleans. But,
Yeah, you can definitely
the numbers are there.
The numbers are there, so you can definitely throw that in. But Diggs has had the biggest impact by far and away on anybody.
I mean, it makes me literally just so angry that the Giants traded Odell for a bag of popcorn.
Yeah, and that obviously has
And it
not
was
worked
still
out in the
popcorn.
favor.
I'm
So
just kidding. They got Jabril Peppers, and he's played well, and so is Zelter at guard. But
he's played well, but
to only get one, because how many first-round picks did the Bills trade? Didn't they give up a first
they gave
this
up
year
2.
and next year?
Yeah, they gave up 2.
And the Giants only got 1 from Cleveland. They should have held them at a king's ransom.
But sometimes that's how it goes in the land of the NFL. So the Bills are moving forward. The Ravens, unfortunately, are in the offseason, but they'll be back. So let us flip it to Sunday, and let's talk about those Cleveland Browns, shall we?
Sure.
Probably the most controversial game of the week.
More than likely, yeah. So the Kansas City Chiefs took on the Cleveland Browns in Kansas City, where the Chiefs won by the final score of 22-17. Patrick Mahomes, 21 of 30 for 255 yards.
Yeah,
passing.
I'm not worried about him. What about the real quarterback stat of Kansas City?
1 touchdown, no interception. Also, Chad Henne, who came in because Patrick Mahomes did leave because of concussion protocol.
The man.
6 of 8 for 66 yards, no touchdowns or 1 interception.
Chad Henne, baby.
On the flip side, for Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, 23 of 37 for 204 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Now, before anybody else jumps in, I do want to point out, because a lot of people are asking, what the hell is going on with Patrick Mahomes? Will he be able to play Sunday? Possibly. Reading from an article on ESPN.com where it details the steps for COVID protocol. Quote, the first thing you should know is that prior to this season, every NFL player takes neurological and balancing tests when in a non-injured state to provide a normal score. Those results can later be used to help diagnose a concussion and to determine when a player's neurological activity and balance has returned to its previous state following a brain injury. The 5 steps are, Step 1. Based on symptoms, the player can engage in light stretching, balance training, and eventually progress to light aerobic exercise. Step 2. The player can graduate toward cardiovascular exercise and dynamic stretching and then take neurological and balance tests. He can pass through this step once those test results match his baseline scores. Step 3. The player can move toward a limited amount of football-specific exercise. That includes up to 30 minutes of practice time under the supervision of an athletic trainer. Step 4. Football activities can increase to non-contact drills, such as throwing and running. Another set of tests must again show baseline results. And finally, Step 5. This requires the team doctor to clear the player for contact. Once that happens, the player must be examined by an independent neurological consultant. If that consultant affirms the team doctor's decision, the player is cleared to practice full and play in the team's next game, close quote.
Step 6, Patrick Mahomes is playing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and for record, and I know I put this on Twitter, I hope he does. I don't want that game to have any kind of asterisks on it.
And listen, I was in a heated debate with all my coworkers and everything today. Don't matter. Chad Henne, Patrick Mahomes, who cares? A win is a win. You know what I mean?
Was looking pretty goddamn
listen,
good.
I celebrate the Notre Dame win over Clemson, whether Trevor Lawrence played or not. You know what I mean? A win is a win. It's the general manager's job to find players.
Yep.
It is the coaching staff's job to coach those players, and it is the players' jobs to be successful. And I know Patrick Mahomes is an elite talent that arguably, Chad Henne can never be, but it is Andy Reid's job, because that is what the general manager put in front of him, to coach up. So if they go in with Chad Henne and the Bills win, there is no asterisk, because the injuries are a part of football. It is what it is, dog.
Yeah. I think you got to give some credit to the front office staff, the GM, the coaches, and everybody who in decisions of putting players and drafting players and putting them there. Because once Mahomes went down, I sat there and I went, well, it's a good thing Kansas City scored on their first 4 drives.
Yeah.
No punts, literally all touchdowns. It was a good thing Kansas City went up when they did, and I said, well, we'll see how this goes. But then Henne comes out there. Now Henne, journeyman quarterback, he's been, what is it, 5-6 teams? Never anything stellar, never anything that's like, holy shit, this guy's got to be, top vote getter for the Pro Bowl. But goddamn, if that line and those receivers make him look good.
Well,
yeah, exactly. But what I was just saying is, because I know that fans were immediately jumping in and saying, "Oh, well, Mahomes is out, Bills has got this." I'm like, no.
Well, that take is wrong.
Yeah,
that take is wrong. But to say that this has an asterisk on it just because the Bills win with Mahomes out, that's doing disservice to the Bills.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's just everybody has been jumping on like that was the headline coming out of this, and it's like, no, whatever's going to happen Sunday is going to happen Sunday.
Right.
So we just have to show up and play the game, and I just don't want any asterisks. I don't want any excuses. Listen, if we get our asses kicked by Kansas City, hey, the better team won.
Right.
If we wind up winning, we won.
Right, and if you win with or without Mahomes, you still won the game. There is no asterisk.
Well,
but to go in and say you're going to win just because Henne's in, Mahomes out, that's the dumb call. Because that's when they sneak up and get you.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to think too. Mahomes is 25 years old. He turned 25 back in September. Hypothetically, go through these steps. Okay, step 1. Asterisk, he gets through it. Realistically, he knows the plays. He knows what they're going to do. He can sit there and figure out, all right, this is what the game plan is what we're going to do. It's not like he has to go out there and play it. He knows the playbook. He knows what they're going to do. He knows, okay, when we go to run this play, I got to look for this guy.
Yeah.
It's not exactly reinventing the wheel.
No, the scary thing is how he got the concussion, because that was a very not... I mean, from the angles that they showed and when I was trying to watch, I mean, the only point of impact that I really saw of his head, a rattle, was when his helmet, the crown, like the very, very crown of it, hit the defender's head on the way down. But that was really the only point of contact, because when you looked at it, I thought it hit the ground at first and the ground caused it. But then when you watch the replay, his head wasn't down. So I don't think it was the ground that caused it.
A few sites I've been looking at just trying to get more information about this is they're saying it's not exactly a traditional concussion. It's more like a stinger that you get in pro wrestling.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
That because the way that he got bulldog tackled, It was how the defender had his head
Right, had it wrapped up. Yeah.
They're saying that that's what caused it,
Yeah.
and they said that it's not exactly him hitting the ground, but it's some kind of nerve issue that's causing it.
Yeah.
So
Because I mean,
I can see that.
he got up and was not.
yeah, he was.
He looked like he was about 20
But-
beers deep.
Yeah, he didn't, because it didn't look like he was like the concussed, like, where am I
Right.
concussed? It looked I can't, stabilize my legs.
Because you even heard Romo on the call go, "Oh, look at his eyes. Let's see his eyes." And I'm watching. I'm like, I don't see anything in the eyes other than he just looks like a holy shit that hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can't say that's like the official thing, but from a few sites I've seen that is what they're saying. It's not necessarily a traditional concussion.
Okay.
It's like
That seems likely.
it's a nerve neck issue that is basically throwing his equilibrium off is kind of the rough idea from what I'm getting.
See, that I think plays out because you think of when he went to get up, and it was literally like he's a drunk college student.
Yeah.
Right.
Where he got up and he just like couldn't find his balance at all. So that makes sense.
Yeah, because obviously that entire game, Cleveland showed up and was playing a very physical style ball.
I'll say the old Cleveland. We don't know if they'll show up and play. They're gone. Cleveland's here to play.
No, they definitely showed up, and obviously with Kansas City, we knew what we were expecting from Mahomes and company. We knew that Mahomes
3 weeks off. Christ Almighty.
Yeah,
I mean, they showed the graphic during the game of Andy Reid in Kansas City and what the scores have been like after he's had time off.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, the crazy thing is, I was watching ESPN and their bet guys, and they had a stat where teams that have had a first-round bye that sat their players on Week 17 are like 0 for 14 against the spread going into that game. Mm-hmm. So, like, first off, you knew Cleveland was going to come out and play because they've been playing the best football of their season.
yeah, absolutely.
And not to mention the fact that Kansas City is not known as being a great run-stopping team. I mean, that's how the Raiders were able to beat them by featuring their run game. So, and Josh Jacobs. So it's like, what was Cleveland going to do?
Right.
But run the ball down with the law firm there of Hunt and
Chubbs.
Chubbs. Yeah, Chubbs and Hunt.
You got to give Cleveland their due. This was their first winning season since 2007, which snapped the longest drought in the NFL. This was their first playoff berth since 2002, which was, again, the longest drought in the NFL. This was their first playoff win since 1994, and also their 11 regular season wins and 12 total wins marked the most since 1994.
It was absolutely wild, but even though it was a lot of success, the Cleveland curse came into effect with that last minute of the first half touchdown that was called back by Higgins because he took a helmet-to-helmet shot.
Yeah, Son tells me that rule is going to get looked at in the offseason.
Well, they definitely need to because when he fumbled the ball into the end zone and went out of bounds, that is under the rules, it's a touchback for the opposing team.
I was at home at my parents' house doing some laundry and was watching the game, and my mom was reading a book or something, and I'm sitting there and I watch it play, and they made the call, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Because I don't think I've ever seen that.
I can't remember the last time it's
rare.
happened.
It happens.
It does, but I can't even remember the last time it's happened in the past 10 years. I mean, you can hit me up at OD Parlay Hour and we can tweet about it, sure. I just don't remember seeing it. And then when it happened, I was like, wait a sec, how is this going down? And then there was no flag for the hit. That was even the more telling sign.
Yeah. Because
the referees were right there, and you saw him get leveled with that.
I mean, I guess for me, the fumble out of bounds, and it being a turnover, it's like, what do you do then? Because you can't put the ball at the 2-yard line because, I mean, the ball did cross the plane. I mean, do you call it like an offensive touchback and put it back at the 20? It's like, what's the good answer?
I think you would have to do that.
There were a lot of weird calls.
But then what do you do? Do you make it 1st and 10 or is it 1st and goal?
You make it 1st and 10.
There were a lot of weird calls in that game, though, because I remember one in the second half where I think it was a Kansas City guy went and made a catch and slid backwards out of bounds, and Romo was explaining the rule, and I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
There was a lot of questionable calls in this game.
It was so weird.
On both sides of the ball. It was both. But the one that everybody is really going to focus in on is the touchdown that was called back. And because that was a big momentum shift. That was a big backbreaker for Cleveland. Albeit, though, they did fight back.
Yeah.
And they did get back into it. And obviously, with Mahomes going down.
Oh, yeah.
And then Chad Henne, of all people. And what is it about quarterbacks? They leave Miami. They suddenly find the way to play quarterback.
It's getting away from Gase.
Well, either way works, which rumor has it he's going Philly. wait and see about that
Yeah.
one.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well,
There's a certain offensive coordinator up in the Northeast that had an 8-hour interview with him. Goes by the name of McDaniels. Yeah, true story.
And their special, I've heard their
Like-
special teams coach too had an interview.
The NFC, the game between Tampa Bay and New Orleans was still going on, and it was like they were 8 hours deep
Yeah.
interviewing. So
He ain't gonna take that job.
Yeah,
He-
that's
I don't know. 8-hour interview makes me sweat a little bit.
I
well,
mean-
I think he's just kind of pushing the point with Kraft, but I mean, we can save that talk for another time.
Sure.
But with this game, though, Chad Henne comes in and leads the team down the field. I mean, granted, he threw one egregious interception,
Yeah.
which watching the replay a couple times, his wide receiver broke route.
Right.
So that's what led it, because I remember getting on Twitter, I'm like, where is he throwing? Because especially when you got the lead late.
I mean, was it a route break or was it maybe an option route that, you know, the wide receiver saw one way and Henny saw another?
Either way, it looked like he stopped and then he tried going back to get back in routes.
Yeah,
and then,
probably then it was an
yeah,
option route.
because there was nobody in sight.
Yeah.
But for Cleveland, though, they could not get the ball
No.
and drive down the field. Like the magic ran out. And for Kansas City and Andy Reid to call one
my
of the
God.
ballsiest plays.
Facts.
Fucking stones.
Yeah, a shotgun, and everybody thought like, okay, they're going
Even
for the
Ro-
delay of game.
Even Romo was saying, "Oh, they're going to try and call him offsides and then call it
Yeah.
time," because they had like 1-2 timeouts left. Romo's going and again, no Romo. You figure he was calling plays in the Super Bowl. You know, he's like going, "Oh yeah, no, they're you look at the body language of the defense. They know they're not going to call anything." And you're like, I'm saying, yeah, oh no, that checks out. Nope, fake. We're actually running a play.
Yeah,
Well, first off, let's the Chad Henne running it for the go for it for
Yeah.
Oh my
the
God.
first down and, you know, diving head first and everything. That started this.
Play of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he had it. I thought, you know, credit to my wife who was like, no, I think his elbow was down. And I'm like, no way, the ball. Like,
Yeah.
it's a first down. Like, there's no way. And then, you know, they show the replay and his elbow's down. And I'm like, oh, no, like, you got punt. You
yeah,
have
that's
to
what
punt.
that's what I thought they had to get.
Like, you
back
got to
home.
play defense. You cannot give the ball. I mean, what was that, like the 43? And I was
At
like, you
least.
can't give the ball up there. And then, you know, to make the play call to pass the ball.
Yeah, stones,
Fuck.
stones.
And what a great designed play.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it was brilliant because Cleveland was so focused. They had no idea what was going on, and then Andy Reid just slides that in, and then all sees Tyreek Hill just get there and just immediately stay in bounds and go down. Brilliant.
I mean, that's next level thought, you know.
So I mean, that's why Kansas City is moving on, but Cleveland has nothing to hang their head about. I mean,
No,
that's
no,
a big
absolutely
takeaway.
not.
I don't think anybody is feeling that way
Yeah.
coming out of this. I mean, we all like you weren't going to win that game. You know, I mean, there's
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that they gave them a fight, and obviously the Browns are contenders, but Kansas City is moving on. And like I say, now we have Buffalo traveling to Kansas City. I know the headline, like I touched upon earlier, is going to be is Mahomes going to play, but it doesn't matter. We just got to get on the field, and wherever the chips are going to fall, it's going to
Facts.
fall. And like I say, I don't want to hear anybody say about an asterisk talk. I don't want to hear
Same.
anything about that.
Same.
So another game that is not going to have an asterisk talk, but a fond farewell for one player, in my opinion, Pad.
Yeah, so that was the last game of the weekend between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints, which took place on History Channel. No, I'm kidding. But in all reality, the quarterbacks are combined like 85 years old. Tampa Bay beat New Orleans by the final score of 30-20. Tom Brady, 18 of 33 for 199 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Drew Brees, 19 of 34 for 134 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions.
I've come to the realization, and I've accepted this, and it was not easy to do. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. It's just facts.
You know,
You can't. Go ahead, because we had this debate at work, and you're wrong.
I say he is the 1B now with Montana.
No, he is it. He's been to a title game in every season but one.
And that
That's
was the year he blew his knee out.
Right.
That's 19 years of making it to an AFC title game.
Then I stand corrected, Coach.
I listen. It wasn't easy to do. It was not an easy pill to swallow because I was with you. I was Montana and Manning, and I mean, honestly, I think Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I mean, Super Bowls aside, because it's a team game, so you don't single-handedly win a championship.
Yeah.
But when you look at the body of work, you can't argue it.
Brady's definitely the greatest of all time, but I don't think he would have won this game for a couple of factors. A, if his defense hadn't have played as good as they did, and Drew Brees' arm hadn't fallen off down in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Because you look at watching this entire game, it didn't dawn. At first, I didn't think anything of it, just because I'm thinking, all right, he's got respect for their secondary. He doesn't really want to test it, whatever. But as the game went on and on and on and on and on, that he wasn't fucking throwing anything further than 5 yards the entire game.
What did I say last week?
And you look,
No, you did, Coach.
he averaged 3.9 yards per pass. The longest catch of the game was Traquan Smith at 56 yards, but that wasn't Breeze. That was off the trick play where Jameis Winston threw the damn ball.
The real GOAT.
After that, longest pass was 16 yards to Emmanuel Sanders. After the second longest was 13 to Ty Montgomery. Then you got 8 yards was the longest to Jared Cook. Alvin Kamara was 9. And then after that, it's a whole bunch of zeros and negatives. It dawned on me that just the arm has fallen off.
Dude, he can't throw the ball.
He can't.
Yeah.
It's worse than Rivers.
No, you're absolutely right.
That's what I said.
And it was sad to see.
Who said that last week?
It was sad to see.
It's very sad to see. And especially another big telling stat line, Michael Thomas, zero
catches.
catches, 4 targets.
Yeah, but
0.
that's part Tampa Bay's defense making sure they take him away.
They took out the biggest weapon. And plus, Kamara did not have a great game.
No, but when you can focus on stopping the run and stop limiting Thomas's, openness, I guess, and then force Drew Brees to have to make plays.
Right.
Yeah.
And back to my point, yes, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. But for this game, if it weren't for the fact that his defense recovered the ball 3 times off interceptions and put him on the other side of the 50,
Yeah.
it might have been a whole different story. Because I think at one point they said Tampa Bay had like 14 points off turnovers.
Yeah, but New Orleans was driving at one point. Had they have scored a touchdown, it would have been like a 7-point game, instead of a 14-point game. But that's irrelevant to the what Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It was not easy to swallow that pill. I know that Drew Brees statistically has some better numbers, like they're 1, 2 in most things, but like the body of work, it's just Tom Brady. But the Drew Brees thing, to touch on that, it's tough.
That's heartbreaking.
I got a buddy who's an Indianapolis Colts fan, lifelong diehard Indianapolis Colts fan, cannot stand Tom Brady for anything.
Sure.
Last night on Twitter said, well, I guess, he goes, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it looks like Tom Brady's not a system quarterback and he's just a great quarterback.
Yep. I felt that pain because, I'm not that stereotypical anti-New England guy because I don't give a shit because they're not in the Giants division. But, I never wanted to admit that he was the best because I always viewed Manning and Montana as 1 and 1A. But, after this game, seeing the body of work this season, he took a 2-14 team with a Jameis Winston and flipped them to a 10-6 team that's now 11-5 that's now playing for the NFC title game. It's pretty damn good. And this defense was not great all year. It was definitely inconsistent, with some ups and downs. Was this low-hanging fruit against the Saint team? Well, that one could debate that because the Saints beat them twice.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point is for Brady and company to come in there and do what they did in the home turf of New Orleans, and they really took that offense down a peg.
With fans in attendance, I think, for the first time all year.
Right. It's a truly telling sign. And for me, I've always said Montana is number 1. That's for me because I know what he did and kind of established the quarterback legacy that is what it is now. Brady's the one who's taken the baton and ran with it. And obviously this season's big headline with him is, can he do it without Belichick? He's done it in a weird sense. It's like the same thing with Aaron Rodgers.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Because I think he's doing this to say F you, Bruce Arians.
Could be.
I think
Could be.
More so than Belichick now, because I think that as much as that's a headline,
Belichick really never had anything much to do with the offense. So that was all McDaniels.
Exactly. I like I say, I don't think it's so much a shot to New England because I just think that Brady wanted just to prove it to everybody else that he is a good quarterback and he's a great quarterback. I will always give the devil his due. And it's just kind of weird to sit here and realize, as Coach pointed out, the stat about how many championship games he's been in, let alone the Super Bowl wins. Like that, to me, is just so surreal. because we obviously see him in New England, and that's what was synonymous with, to go to Tampa Bay,
Sure.
which, let's face it, mediocre at best
Right.
until this season, and he's been able to bring something out of that wide receiver core that nobody else has.
Yeah, I mean, the debate, we had at work was, is Drew Brees or Tom Brady better? And it was like, well, the one side was, well, look at the weapons that Tom Brady had over the course of his careers. The other side was, look at the weapons Drew Brees. And it's like, when you look at player for player wise, Drew Brees obviously had the better weapons.
Yeah,
I mean,
So if you're going for stats, Breeze, but if you're going for a win, Brady.
right. And I mean, when you look at those, like, yeah, all right, Randy Moss, sure. But then the argument was, all right, Julian Edelman. Okay, well, what did Julian Edelman do after he left New England?
I was injured all year.
Yeah. I mean, didn't have a great success.
Didn't play. I think he
And
played. I think he played.
I think you're meaning Wes Welker.
No, Julian Edelman, I think, had a year with the Jets.
No.
No? Oh,
No.
not Carolina?
No.
All right, fuck it. Then Wes Welker had a couple years in Denver.
Yeah.
Did not play very well in Denver and eventually got cut. So, I mean, it's like, look at the players that after they leave Tom Brady.
Amendola.
Yeah.
Another one.
Yeah,
Look at the players that happen when they leave Tom Brady.
Yeah.
They don't play as well.
They fall off.
Yeah. Look at players that left New Orleans still had successful careers in the second half of their, years.
Edelman didn't have any great shakes this year, but he was out almost all year with a busted knee.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like, it's Tom Brady who made and elevated those players, and it's Drew Brees who was, with great talent. So, I don't know. I just, and flip it onto New Orleans, another telling stat was they've won 69 or 70 games, something like that, and have one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think it's 49.
49. And they have one Super Bowl win.
Which is the most for any team in that span, and like that span, not just those years, but like in a 4-year span, and only have one Super Bowl.
And I mean, they've been robbed, like that.
Yeah.
No
Oh, yeah.
question that,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that the fan pass interference that wasn't called against the Rams is completely egregious, and we all,
we all know that one.
hopped on that. But outside of that, one Super Bowl.
Well, I think one glaring thing that you have to realize with New Orleans since Breeze has been there, they've always had a phenomenal offense.
Right.
Their defense has not been consistent the entire legacy of him.
So I will say that up until the point where they got, and oh my God, Spagnuolo. Spagnuolo started the turnaround because the defense the last the years that they've won their defense has been middle of the pack to upper elite, and that was started with Spagnuolo being brought over after his job with the Rams. So, yeah, the beginning part of that, the offense was absolutely fire, but they couldn't stop a peewee football team. So I will agree on that for a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I say. If you want to do the comparisons there, that's where Breeze really excelled at. Is like for him to come to New Orleans, I mean, this is his legacy.
And that was a risk.
It was a huge risk at the time. Remember, because he was having the elbow issues.
Shoulder
issues, rather.
He just came off major shoulder surgery.
Yeah, we're at
because-
the point where they reconstructed it. It was gone.
And it was either him or Dante Culpepper going to Miami.
Yep.
And then Miami, thank God, passed on him. And then New Orleans said, we'll take a shot on you.
Yeah, but I mean, would his career have been the same in Miami?
Fuck no.
Exactly.
No, it wouldn't, because he got with Sean Payton, and they completely turned that whole franchise around, where it used to be a laughing stock into now it's a perennial contender. And obviously, he's going to leave it, because I'm fully convinced that he's done after
He
this year.
can't.
I think it's partially just what we saw during this game, but I also think the 11 broken ribs and the deflated lung really kind of go, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I know Jake Glazer announced before the game that it was it was going to be his last one.
If you can't throw the ball more than 5 yards, you can't play quarterback anymore.
And I think that as tough as the pill is that to swallow, he is a sure ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, first ballot.
First ballot, not even question.
Sure.
And for what he's done for a franchise
And
is
that
his legacy.
city.
Yeah, exactly. He really made New Orleans into a football town.
Yeah.
Like, you got to remember, just let that sink in for a second. For what he's done, he brought them a
Fans
chip.
in the stands with paper bags over their heads. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He has been the catalyst for that change.
The Joe Horn cell phone thing. I mean, that's what New Orleans was known for, you know?
And now they're a perennial contender in that NFC South. They're in good shape when he goes now. I didn't say great, but they're good.
The quarterback position. I mean, it was a question before. It's a question now.
Well,
I mean, do you hand the reins over to Jameis Winston? Do you let that ride out? He's a free agent, I mean,
or Hill.
I mean, but has Hill really shown enough where you're comfortable letting him be the guy?
I think he's been in that system long enough that I think he'd be okay.
Yeah, but he can't throw the ball either.
But I think this is where you are
better prospects than one are out there for free agents.
Exactly. I think that you got to take that shot with him. I think that it's a gamble, but I think it's a safe gamble that maybe if he's not the guy, you can go find somebody to be the guy. And then
I honestly think Jameis is the right answer. I mean, to me, I think you go with the guy that can get the ball down the field to arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Well, that's something they're going to have to think about now. They're going to have the time. And then, obviously, this is going to be a transition point. And then for Tom Brady, let this be the stat we close with tonight. He is one game away from hosting a home game Super Bowl.
Yeah, too bad it's not going to happen.
He's just got to deal with the one thing he don't like, and he said this.
Yeah.
Cold weather. He said, my old, I'm paraphrasing, but he said in an interview, my old ass ain't, he goes, I'm a California kid. I was born and raised in Southern California. He goes, my old ass ain't going back to the Northeast anymore. He goes, I can't deal with those winters anymore. He goes, I'm going to be an old person. Weather on Sunday for Green Bay.
Snow.
High of 23 degrees. Do the math if you're overseas and you're in metric. And they're calling for snow.
Is a lot of factors going to go into this championship weekend.
Having had a family member who's moved from New York to Florida, you get real acclimated to that warm weather real quick.
So many different headlines going into championship weekend, so definitely hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What was your thoughts about the divisional games? Let's talk about that first, and then who you got for the championship games. We're going to give our picks at the end of the show, so stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Chris.
And Lance.
Asking you to check out our new podcast, Comic Book Keepers.
Join us as we delve deep into comic lore to uncover the history behind a wide variety of comic book characters.
Each episode will feature one hero, villain, team, or ensemble, and break down what makes these heroes super.
We'll give you recommendations on what storylines to read,
Explain how characters were created,
discuss adaptations, costumes, and answer comic fandom's what-if questions.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, these conversations can get pretty nerdy.
This is Comic Book Keepers.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and time to talk some basketball.
Basketball is my favorite sport.
And since our last recording, there was a major trade that we had been hinting about, has now come to fruition in the National Basketball Association.
ISO.
Coach, are you ready to talk about Brooklyn?
Fine.
But
I won't do it, though, without mentioning the Knicks are on a 2-game win streak.
Crown 'em champs.
We need to point that out.
Raise it to the banner, baby.
Exactly. But, Pad, you got that trade?
Yeah, so it all went down, what was this, Thursday? Something like that?
Of course, after our show.
After the show went up to air, the Houston Rockets sent James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets in a 4-team trade that involved the Pacers and Cavaliers. The Nets and Rockets announced the trade on Thursday morning. This from an ESPN article. Brooklyn dealt Houston a package that includes guard Chris LeVert and 3 first-round draft picks. League sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Shelburne that the Rockets will trade LeVert to the Indiana Pacers for Victor Oladipo. The Rockets and Pacers have not yet announced, well, they've announced it since. Center Jared Allen and forward Taurean Prince are headed from the Nets to the Cavaliers, while the Rockets receive Cleveland guard Dante Exum and Brooklyn forward Rodions Krukux. Apologies if I butchered that name. Houston will also receive 3 unprotected first-round picks from Brooklyn in 2022, 2024, 2026, and pick swaps in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. The Rockets also get Cleveland's 2022 first-round pick via the Milwaukee Bucks, and Houston is sending a 2023 second-round pick to the Pacers, sources told ESPN, close quote. So basically, like, the next 10 years of NBA drafts are going to be all Houston Rockets picks.
Yeah, it seems like that. Coach?
Well, shout out to Karis LeVert, who, during his physical with Cleveland, found a mass on his kidney, so hopefully, a speedy recovery, and he's able to come back because he was playing really good basketball up until the trade, too. Yeah, I mean, listen, Kevin Durant got what he wants. I mean, he went to Brooklyn because, obviously he felt comfortable being a part of that organization and the things that they were going to be willing to do. And part of that was bringing in Kyrie with him. And the other part of that was obviously, requesting that they make a move for James Harden. And I know James Harden had hired a consulting firm, to help negotiate this trade to make it happen. And by God, he was able to get it done. His exodus of Houston, I'm not too
messy.
I'm not too fond of. I mean, listen, and honestly, what Shaq said, I was 100% on board.
On point.
Houston traded for you. They made you a star. They put Dwight Howard around you after you asked for it. They built the offense around you with Mike D'Antoni.
So you wanted CP3, we got him for you.
Yeah,
you wanted your boy Russ, we got him for you.
Yeah, and I mean, you couldn't make it work. So the organization obviously parted ways with General Manager Daryl Morey and started in Mike D'Antoni, and they started to think about, all right, what can we do now to build this organization differently? So they trade Russell Westbrook, his friend, and started to try to rebuild a team to maybe more compete, with a West that was only getting better as they were kind of fledgling, in the middle of the pack. And they made some tough decisions, So for James Harden to act the way that he did to get out, I think is not cool.
No.
I mean, I just think it's disrespectful to an organization that gave you everything. And, Brooklyn,
Good
what
luck.
can you say? Yeah, I mean, listen, in the early points of this packet or deal or trade or relationship, it's been symbiotic. They've picked up right where they've left off from OKC, as far as the connection that the two of them have. I think that D'Antoni being there is an X factor that people really aren't talking about, because he can help Steve Nash a great deal, with as far as handling the egos and building rapport, because he'll know how to put James Harden in a position to be successful. And when Kyrie comes back, I mean, honestly, Kevin Durant was initiating a lot of the offense to begin with. I think that you're going to do that again. I think James Harden will now be the initiator of the offense, and you're going to be able to see a lot of Kyrie off ball. And I think that's what they're going to have to do in order to assimilate him into this offense, because if you put him with the ball back in his hands, I just think, and I don't want to say James Harden can't play with the ball, off ball. I just think he's been such a ball dominant player that's part of the reason why the relationship didn't work with Chris Paul, because he is so used to initiating the offense that when you take him away, it hurts his game. And I mean, the biggest thing of this trade was, and what people I also again don't think about, is that they didn't have to repackage Shamet, which gives them depth off the bench that is desperately needed, because the fact that you traded LeVert, Krakaris, and Exum kills the depth that they had. I mean, they were a 3 or 4 seed going into the year. Arguably could have fought for the 1 seed with how bad Toronto's playing, and now you get this, but you sacrifice depth. And I mean, the picks.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the fact that, when you project yourself as being, the 27th, 28th, 29th pick in the draft, there's not a lot of value as far as what you and what you have to pay those players versus drafting somebody at 30, 31, or 32. But still, I mean, if this goes wrong, a la the trade with the Boston Celtics, dude, you are literally setting your franchise back 10 or 7 years. 7 years.
In my opinion, this is going to blow up in Brooklyn's face. There is not enough basketballs in the 5 boroughs for these 3 to coexist. And I understand we are in the honeymoon phase right now, but in my opinion, you're bringing in James Harden, who, as Shaq put best, Houston made you a star. They catered to your will. They gave you everything they could, and yet you still couldn't be happy with where you were. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, Kyrie. As we were recording, is missing his 7th consecutive game tonight.
I beg to differ just a little bit because James Harden balls. The one thing that he does do is he plays every night, doesn't ask for a day off, doesn't ask for minute checks or anything like that. If you need to play him a stretch where, it might be a 40-minute game, versus his normal 38-minute game, or, you need him to go 44, he'll play it. No questions asked. He'll ball for you. I think the problem is going to be just his time in Houston was ball dominant. Literally to the point where, how Pad pointed out, ISO. It was literally, if the pick and roll with, or the pick and fade with Tucker didn't work, the pick and roll with Capella didn't work, his drives didn't create, somebody coming off the corner for corner 3 for PJ Tucker or Green when he was there, or Austin River, or Eric Gordon. Like, if those looks weren't there and he had to drive and create his own look, he was able to do that. But it's here now, is he going to be willing to defer, if his look isn't there, to Kevin Durant? That's the thing that, or when Kyrie does come back.
If he comes back.
Right. I'm assuming that he will. But will he defer the ball, to one of those two guys? Obviously, the first game, he scored 30 points, but he also had 8 assists.
Yeah.
And he deferred a lot to Kevin Durant in the early part of the game until, second half, when they were down, he started to take over the offense a little bit. That's what I wonder. Yeah.
And just to kind of clarify what I said, if I know Stephen A. Smith was even saying he thinks Kyrie might retire, or he said something in that kind of paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah. There's it's just so much speculation.
Yeah.
You don't know. He apparently is back in the Brooklyn building working on cardio. So he is.
The only person who knows what's going on with Kyrie is Kyrie.
And I don't even know if Kyrie knows.
Yeah. Like I said, this whole story is absolutely just wild, and you're hearing all the speculation. And like I said, I remember Stephen A. Smith got on there, and like I said, I was paraphrasing. It's like, if he comes back, because at this
stage, he did. Stephen A. did say that he's heard inklings that this might cause him to retire.
Yeah. So, obviously, Brooklyn is going to be in a state of flux no matter what. And then you get, if Kyrie does come back, sure, 3 talented ball players. Can't take that away from him.
No.
But can they sit there and coexist for a long stretch?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Definitely the fans are tuning in because the Yes Network, which is the network here in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area.
Tri-Town.
The Tri-Town area that broadcasts the Yankees games. They also broadcast the Nets games. Announced on, Sunday, quote, on Twitter, quote, Yes's telecast of last evening's Magic Nets game averaged 143,000 viewers in the New York DMA, nearly double Yes season to date average of 72,000 viewers.
Nah, it's because they were watching Cole Anthony come home.
Exactly.
This despite the fact that the telecast went up against the NFL playoff action and the Rangers-Islanders game.
Well, it's big box office right now because with Harden being there, and obviously had a great debut.
Sure.
30 points.
Yeah. 30 points, 8 rebounds, or 8 assists, 6 rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is box office right now. Like I say, this is the honeymoon phase. This is where you're seeing all these people suddenly come out of the woodwork saying they're Brooklyn Nets fans.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Fuck. Come on.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many fair weather, especially with that new, the retro jersey that everybody, you're going to see that everywhere.
There's no element. Those
jerseys suck.
They're nice. But that we're going to see maybe some of them more so than some of our listeners will because we're in the New York area. But it's going to be akin to when the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004, where all of a sudden you had everybody and their goddamn mother come out. I knew a guy when I was in school. I went to school with his sister. She graduated with me. I knew her younger brother. Diehard Yankees fans. I'm talking like Mike C. from Horizon 607 level Yankee fan that knew everything about the team. But as soon as the Red Sox fucking won the World Series, started wearing Red Sox.
Ugh, gross.
So that kind of shit. But we're gonna see that a lot. Depending on how this goes. If all of a sudden we're gonna start seeing a lot more Brooklyn Nets.
No, you already saw it going into this year, and now it's only going to get worse. Now that everybody's going to come out of the woodwork, be like, "Oh, I like them." Back in the day, whatever. You jump off the Knicks bandwagon. I don't care. There's no room for you anyway. As this team's rebuilding, leave. But to Brooklyn's credit, this was back speaking. Yankees, Red Sox, the pursuit for A-Rod. You know, with the Red Sox and them going back and forth with the Texas Rangers, because Philly was very much in these trade negotiations, obviously in the same division, same conference, you know, and the 76ers just weren't willing to make the draft picks available that the Nets were. Yeah. And credit to the Nets, because they knew that the only way to do this, to satisfy your star in Kevin Durant, and appease, your fan base, was to go out there and make this move. Because if you let Philly get him, and you let Philly pair him with Embiid and Tobias Harris, if he wasn't part of the deal, which I would assume that he wasn't, that's a very scary three.
Brooklyn, Philly facing each other Saturday, February 6th, 7:00 Eastern.
Yeah. It's something that Brooklyn went all in about. And
they had to.
They had to appease their egos of their players, which you're now letting the inmates run the asylum. Like I say, this is just set up for disaster, in my opinion. Like, will they win a chip? Debatable. But it's not out of the realm of thought. They're all talented enough there if they can somehow put it together. But this is a lot of egos that we've already seen not be the best about voicing their grievances, shall we say.
Listen, I just don't want to crush James Harden too much, because he played hard for that time in Houston.
And I will grant you that. I will grant you he did play hard.
Forget the exodus, because it was egregious, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Separate that, though, from the player that was. Kevin Durant has shown that he can play in a system around stars. Like, I honestly compare him to like a LeBron who's assimilated around other players. I think Kevin Durant honestly can defer the most and shouldn't. Kevin Durant does not need to say, okay, I'm gonna let other guys get their looks and be okay with it, because he should take over games more. And he's willing to defer, which is, I think, a level, like when he was in Golden State, he could have taken over games and didn't. He deferred to Clay, let Steph get his, even Draymond getting in the offense. He didn't need to. So I think that the relationship that him and Harden will have will be fine. It will be just like when they left Oklahoma City. It's bringing Kyrie back into the fold as a point guard.
Yeah.
Will he be able to be off ball?
Well, that's the $1 million question when Kyrie gets back in the mix. And for right now, it looks good on paper. But long term, I don't know. And then plus, you don't know with how Kevin Durant is going to handle with that New York media breathing down his throat about it.
Yeah,
that's the thing that with Golden State, it's a quieter market. It's something that if he was having some problems with the team or anything like that, would kind of fall under the radar for the most part.
Sure.
But New York, and especially with all eyes on those three now, I don't know how they're going to handle the magnifying glass.
I mean, he's handled media in large part and in huge amount for the bulk of his career. I think the thing that's going to help him right now is no fans, because it's the fans are going to have high expectations. It's going to be, the championship or bust mentality, because let's face it, when you put three players of their caliber on a team together, you should win a championship. Whether they do it, whether they do or not, remains to be seen. But he'll do fine for right now, because the fans aren't in attendance right now. So they might go through these stretches where they're playing, let's just say, a couple days apart, Boston, Philly, Toronto, Miami type of run, where it's just one of those, dog stretches where it's like, holy shit, we're going up against the upper echelon of the East here. Mm-hmm. And they're not playing as hot, they're not scoring as much, and the fans are starting to get into them a little bit.
They're going to score.
But no, they're going to those stretches where it's, a little bit of a slump, and the, normal circumstances, the fans might be booing and they might be hearing it. He can ignore that right now because there's no fans in attendance, and let's face it, he ain't checking social media.
No, from a burner account, he is.
From a burner account, he's all over that.
Brooklyn's not going to boo this team regardless, because they're so just sycophantic yes men of this team that they couldn't even name any of the players that got traded because they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
The thing is that Steve Nash has done a surprisingly good job on the early onset of managing this team. Now, the stuff with Kyrie we might not like, but them as an organization, they are handling it properly, because nobody is up in arms per se of what's going on. Like the players
the
are
PR about this. Yeah, fine.
Right. They are controlling it. They are controlling the narrative. They are, the only stuff that's getting leaked is by, Woj and those type of guys who are doing, the digging to find stuff, but nothing's creeping out of that Nets locker room. So they have a good rapport there. Yeah. So I don't think it's that. I think it's the on-court chemistry where now you have another guy, which Kyrie was a point guard, has been a point guard, is a point guard, a score-first point guard, a ball-dominant point guard, who left Cleveland because of the fact that he was playing with another ball-dominant player who now has to defer again because James Harden is a ball-dominant player. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, his offensive game has evolved to the point where he can get looks for other guys while also scoring himself.
Yeah.
And it's different with Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant has learned to defer because of his time and play in a system. So I think Steve Nash will try his best to utilize a little bit of that Golden State stuff. But I really want to see, the other thing too is if somebody gets hurt now with this lack of depth, because all right, Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Green, and Jordan are your starting five, projected, obviously you could start Harris at the 3 and Green at the 4. What if one of these guys or two of these guys go down?
It's an X factor they got to deal with.
Because now you got to insert Landry Shamet into the lineup, and you have nothing behind that.
Or you run into a situation like we've seen some teams do with COVID.
Yeah,
COVID protocols, and all of a sudden you can only suit 6 guys.
Yeah, it's a weird situation to watch from afar, but to see what Brooklyn has inherited, it's either going to be boom or bust.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I'm looking at their schedule. I think the test here is going to be for them in early February because on the 2nd they play the Clippers, then they play Toronto, Philly, Detroit, Indiana, and then Golden State. And oh, by the way, end of January they've got back-to-back games against Miami.
It's going to be a tough stretch, so we'll see what this team is really made of moving forward. But with right now, we just kind of have to see how this is all going to combust, if it's going to combust, because we have 3 big egos when they all get down the court together. How long is the honeymoon going to be in effect? And then what happens if they start going on a losing streak? There's so many factors going on with this trade, but this is definitely sending ripples throughout the NBA, so hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. What is your thoughts about the James Harden trade to Brooklyn? Are you for it? Are you against it, and why? Let's talk, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sunny Hepburn.
And I'm Brandy Fleets.
And we're from Book of Lies, the podcast, where we discuss liars, cheats, and thieves,
scammers, and dirty, rotten scoundrels.
You can tune in for new episodes every Tuesday to hear about another lowdown, dirty liar.
And learn how to spot them.
So that's Book of Lies Podcast. You can connect with us on social media, Twitter at Book of Lies Pod, Facebook, and Instagram at Book of Lies Podcast. Bye!
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and time to talk some UFC.
Oh, boy.
Now, this past weekend was a card on ABC that we touched upon lightly last week. Definitely has some quick highlights to go over because...
if you have access to ESPN Plus, skip the rest of the card, just go to that main event.
Max Holloway.
What? That was nuts.
God fucking damn.
Just put on a clinic against Calvin Kattar.
Honestly,
There's stones on that man.
Holloway kind of... little bitch. How do you not finish that?
The question is, knowing Max, and Max obviously one of the best featherweights to do it, was talking a lot of trash in that one.
He was listening to the commentary team.
Yeah.
At the end of the 5th round, where they were talking, and I thought he was talking, I didn't realize where the commentary team, I thought he was talking to his opponent's corner. And I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. You see that happen. And then they started laughing, go, oh my God, he's listening to us while he's fighting. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, Max likes to talk a lot. And he's backed it up in the cage, and obviously this was another case, winning by decision over Calvin Kattar. He probably should have finished them at some point, but give the credit.
Because he almost got caught a couple times.
Yeah, Kattar was definitely game for this, but it's just a different skill level, and Max, not fighting for a belt, I think he wanted to prove a point that he still should be in that title talk.
Sure.
So, big performance for him on ABC for network TV, huge card.
Oh, great timing, 3 o'clock, midday.
Yeah.
Nothing was going on.
Yeah, so definitely had some eyes on it before the football games really kicked in.
Yeah.
So
it also made me realize why what we're going to talk about next is in Dubai, since they're allowing fans in the building.
true.
It took me a minute because I was like, why is Conor fighting in Dubai? Like, And I know that he had stated that he wouldn't fight unless in front of fans.
Right.
And then I'm like watching this fight, and I'm like, when the light, would shine during entrances, I would see people, and I'm like they had people in Fight Island too, but it was media guys, team members, like what have you, people that were allowed in the building.
You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, but you could still, and then all of a sudden, as it continued to flash, I saw seats and everything, and then they showed the pan of the arena, and I'm like, now I know why. They're fighting because they're allowing fans there. That's why Conor's going to Dubai.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Dana has set this up very well because obviously before the fight happened this past Saturday, we had another decision-like event with the one and only Khabib meeting with Dana.
Oh, yeah, that chestnut.
Yeah.
And then it was announced, per Dana, that Khabib would come back if there was something that impressed him enough to come back to.
Sure.
So, obviously, all eyes are now shifting to UFC 257 this weekend, taking place from Fight Island.
Well, not Fight Island, it's literally from the stadium in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this has definitely been moving and shaking a lot because once you get the one and only Conor McGregor back on a card, one of the biggest, if not the biggest name in MMA, it's going to be box office. And
ESPN Plus is going to have issues.
Oh, there's going to be...
Don't say that.
There's going to be all types of things. We'll obviously be doing the live reaction on twitch.tv/67podcast, so you definitely want to drop that follow and make sure you don't miss any minute of that content because the live reactions for this one is going to be definitely in play because Khabib said he needs to be really impressed to come back. Obviously, he retired after the Justin Gaethje fight, obviously losing his father. He definitely was in a very emotional state, went out a champion. I honestly don't think he should come back, in my opinion. He has nothing left to prove, but he said there's some scenarios that would make him do this. 2 fights on this card are ones that could definitely maybe move the needle for him. And obviously, Charles Oliveira is lurking in the wings as well. But the 2 fights here are the co-main event and the main event. I just want to touch briefly on the co-main event. That's Dan Hooker taking on Michael Chandler. If you're not familiar with Chandler, he is a former Bellator champion.
Okay.
And he is definitely one of the biggest free agents the UFC has signed over past years.
So Dan Hooker in 29 professional matches has a win-loss record of 20-9, 10 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, 3 by decision. For his losses, he's been knocked out once, submitted twice, and 6 by decision. On the flip side, in 26 professional matches for one Michael Chandler, he has a record of 21-5, 9 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, 5 by decision. And for his losses, he's been knocked out 3 times, never been submitted, and lost 2 by decision.
And Pat, just want to touch upon Dan Hooker's last match was against who?
Dustin Poirier, where he lost by unanimous decision, and that was in June of 2020.
And that was a Fight of the Year candidate.
Sure. It did get Fight of the Night.
Yeah, that one was an all-out brawl. So that being said, I'm going to make my early prediction and say this is Michael Chandler's fight. And I think that Hooker is going to definitely show up. This is going to go to the decision, but Chandler needs this fight to really make a splash because anytime that you have a fighter coming over from Bellator, and I don't mean to pick on the promotion because I think they do put on great fights and they have great fighters there.
They're just the WCW of MMA.
It's that second tier that a lot of fans think about that Pat touched upon, that sometimes they come over and they're not the real deal.
They're the sexy matches that if should have happened 15 years ago.
I mean, they have had some great fighters come over from there,
sure.
so I don't want to discredit the promotion. But for Chandler, this is a big opportunity for him.
Yeah.
And he definitely needs to get his name out there because a fight between him and Khabib would be box office, too, for the mainstream MMA fans. That if you haven't seen him fight, he's got to make a great first impression. Nothing against Dan Hooker, but obviously losing to Dustin Poirier, I don't think that would be enough to generate the needle for Khabib. I just don't. I think that he's maybe one more fight away from doing that. So that being said, that's my pick for Chandler to win this. And then let us go to that main event.
I don't know if anybody cares about this main event.
I beg to differ.
Do you?
What I will say, though, is anybody else feel that there's been kind of a lack of promotion for this fight compared to the Cowboy fight?
Yeah.
Where it was literally, I mean, I know they have the ads, which have aired, but like, I really feel as though there's been there's been a lack of like clippings. There've been a lack of press junkets. Now I know COVID, right?
Sure,
but like,
sure,
you can still do virtual stuff. And I just really feel like outside of that 1 hour promo that they aired before the fight, the countdown or whatever that UFC preview show is, there's just been a real lack of build here, which I'm shocked going into a Conor fight.
I mean, let me just pose you this question. This is strictly like a devil's advocate situation.
Okay.
Do you really need to promote a Conor fight?
I mean, no, you don't. But what hurts by having additional promo stuff? Think about the last time Conor fought for an ESPN Plus card. It broke the internet. Like, it broke ESPN.
Yeah.
So, and that was with full media pledge behind it.
That's true.
This,
that was back in January.
Right. And now this card is going to sell. But like,
Shit, that was a year ago today.
yeah. Oh shit, that's crazy. But like, hey dog, who won that fight, by the way? Oh no. But seriously, like, think about the amount of just promotion that ESPN was running behind that.
Oh, sure.
You know, Conor's first fight on ESPN, you know, it's going to be must watch, yada, yada, yada. And then obviously COVID, whatever, but like, they could still be like pushing it a little bit.
My feeling is this, and this is nothing against Dustin Poirier. I really like Dustin Poirier as a fighter.
Sure.
Like, I hold him very like high status for my MMA watching. The first time he fought Conor, it was a 2-minute TKO.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not saying this isn't going to be an exciting fight, but I'm thinking that for the promotion they want to do for this, I know it's Conor coming back. It's the first time after a year. Obviously, since the Cerrone fight, he hasn't fought.
Right.
Different reasons, you can argue, whatever the case is. I don't think they want to really do a lot of promotion because if Conor wins this one, all signs point to him and Khabib too. So,
right.
That being said, if this doesn't go down or they can't make that fight, where do you go from here with him? And I think what they're just saying is Conor is box office enough he can sell himself. That you just have to say he'll be there.
Yeah, but even he hasn't done much.
He's done a couple of Zooms here and there. He's done a couple of the MMA circuits because there has been some interviews chirping around.
Oh, okay.
He did one with Ariel Hall. He did a whole thing with Ariel Helwani.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess then as a cat, like as a
casual
but
fan.
I mean, as a fan of Conor, though,
Yeah.
like I haven't seen this stuff.
I mean, here's the thing, though. There is such a thing as too much advertising and turning people off to it. You want to advertise something, but you don't want to do it to the level I think you're expecting too far out because you're going to turn people off to it. If people are turning on ESPN or ABC or, you know, whatever other network they might advertise this on, and every other ad they're watching on their show, if somebody's tuning into ABC to watch, you know, Grey's Anatomy or something like that, and they're seeing an ad for Conor McGregor every 20 minutes, they're going to go, holy shit, I'm not watching this. I'm tired of seeing this.
They're not going to run the promo between Grey's Anatomy. What I'm
You
saying,
get my point, though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, he's the most polarizing fighter they have.
Arguably him and John.
Him and John, right?
Yep.
Okay? So when you're talking about the fact that you have, you know, had a very good streak of pretty good cards, you know, look at the Adesanya fight.
Yeah.
That was everywhere. Now, okay, this is a little bit different because, you know, Adesanya was going up and coming undefeated fighter. There was a real beef there, but that promo was ran between every single Monday Night Football game. And like, I'm just saying, like, for being such a polarizing fighter, and I know the Poirier thing a lot, you know, got knocked out in the first 2 minutes, but you know, you tell the story of I was a different fighter then. I'm a new fighter now. I've been reborn as a fighter. Like, that's the story that you tell.
He's a polarizing fighter, but at the same token, hasn't really done anything lately to be super polarizing.
No, but that's Conor though. He doesn't need, like, you either love him, me, or you don't.
Diesel.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, and those people that don't will buy the fight just on the fact of, I want to watch him lose. And I'm going to buy the fight as a fan because I want to watch him fight.
Right. It's one of those odd situations that I think that the UFC is just relying on him to sell himself. Like, he's been doing the media circuit for the MMA shows. Like I said, Ariel Helwani, he had a big interview. And then he was
one-on-one.
Yeah, so he's been working the circuit, but I don't think that they've been really pushing the needle because I don't think that they're worried about selling this as much. Not saying anything away from the Donald Cerrone fight because I think that one was a fight fans had long been interested in seeing.
Right.
It's tough to get hyped up. And like I said, this is nothing against Dustin Poirier. It's tough to get hyped up when you see somebody get knocked down in 2 minutes and say, okay, we're going to run this back. Even though, according to CBSSports.com, which I have to give credit for, Poirier has gone 10-2 since that fight.
I guess
One
that's
loss being to Habib.
That's, I guess, the confusing thing to me because of the fact that Cerrone fight was so press heavy.
And I'm looking back. I think the reason that might have been so press heavy was because the fight card that took place immediately before the UFC 246, which was Conor versus Cowboy, that was a UFC fight night between Korean Zombie and Frankie Edgar. That took place on December 21st, 2019. UFC 246 was on January 18th, 2020. You had a solid
1 year ago.
You had a solid month of where there was not a thing going on for UFC. You look at this.
That might be.
You look at this. They just had a card this past Saturday between Max Holloway and Calvin Guitar. There's a card on this
Thursday,
this Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
There's a card on this Wednesday, so they don't want to. They don't want to drown out their other promotions and their other cards going on.
Now that makes sense. That when you put it that way. Now it adds up because, if you're running...
There was a... between...
the Wednesday card's already fallen on the wayside.
Oh, yeah.
It's a shame, too.
What's going on? COVID?
Chiesa and
No,
Magny.
it's a good card. It's a good card.
Did you know about that card?
No, I knew they were fighting I knew they were fighting midweek. I didn't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday.
That's at noon, too.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, it's at a wild time, too. But this is where the Conor machine, love him or hate him, takes over. That he'll start making some noise. He'll get on Twitter. He'll get on Instagram.
I'm waiting for weigh-ins.
You'll start seeing a push, maybe like the bottom right of ESPN. This week, if you open the app, you might see something about it.
Yeah, like I said,
come Wednesday at whatever time that card gets done, 3, 5, whatever the hell it is. That's when they're going to go full tilt, advertising the shit out.
I've been checking YouTube all day for embedded because I love watching for fighters that I like. Yeah. I love watching the embedded stuff up until the fight.
He just got there today.
He just got there
today.
Well, they would still film the embedded stuff.
Right. No, right, but that's probably why you're not seeing.
But that's why I said they're editing up. They'll probably be released within the next 24 hours.
And you got to figure just because with the way COVID and travel and everything, the UFC film crew can't get to where he lives in Ireland right now because
he's not in Ireland.
Well,
but even
you know what I mean.
Even for the travel,
I think he took a yacht.
He did something Conor-esque to get over there. And like I say, for this fight, it's a tough sell.
All right, break down the fight. Tell me why McGregor's going to win, Ken.
Oh, very simple. I am actually agreeing with you that I think McGregor's going to win this fight.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it any other way.
Yeah.
So,
but here's why I'm breaking this fight down. Dustin Poirier is definitely gone through some battles, and obviously the one with Dan Hooker is a fight of the year candidate.
In succession, he beat Anthony Pettis, Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, and Max Holloway.
Well, he beat Gaethje, and then Gaethje still got a title fight.
He knocked out Gaethje.
Yeah, that was a rock'em sock'em. That was
TKO.
But with Poirier, you just don't know what you're going to get out of him in this kind of limelight because while he has definitely shown up for fights and he's won, I believe, the interim featherweight, if I'm not mistaken, this is something that the bright lights, I think, are going to get to him a little bit. And obviously, hearing all week since this fight was signed, 2-minute knockout, I think is going to mess with his head a little bit. I think that's going to be a struggle for him to overcome, even though it shouldn't. He's an impressive fighter. And like I say, I hate saying this about him, but in that kind of talk, I just think that it's going to be tough for him to overcome. And now the pressure of you really got to go out there and perform, and you might get Habib again. And obviously the first time it went around didn't go his favor, but then again, who has it gone in the favor against Habib?
Right.
So that being said, I think Conor is going to win this one. I don't think it's going to be a first-round knockout, but I think it's going to be a TKO stoppage.
Okay.
I think Conor's going to win too, but it's not going to be in the 2 minutes he's been saying. I think Conor is very motivated from going from top of the world, best fighter of all time, greatest of all time, all that conversation to fallen by the wayside a little bit. Now he's not considered the greatest. I think he's going to want to come in there and remind people, hey, I'm still the same guy I always was. I'm still one of the best of all time. I think he's got a little extra motivation that, Poirier is just not ready for.
It's going to be a tough challenge. Like I say, this one is going to be worth the time, and I would be shocked if it was over in 2 minutes again.
Oh, I would be too. There's no way.
But here's the argument then. All right, where do we go from here? Habib is going to be laying in the wings. I know that he has talked about doing this grappling, or I'm sorry, I'm going to call it a grappling match with a 40-year-old GSP.
Right. And pray.
I don't give a shit about seeing that, and I will be very honest about that.
You've been very vocal about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you want to watch a grappling contest, is great. If you're going to pay for a fight, watch something else. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be bored to tears because that's all it's going to be. For Khabib Conor, that's a money fight. As much as I hate to say it, because Conor will absolutely get destroyed.
Yep.
If they go a second round.
You don't know that.
Oh, I'm fully banking on that. I would bank Khabib just tears him apart.
He could evolve and be ready. Okay, let's not just destroy. I mean,
I'm sorry.
Hey, any given Saturday, okay? Any given Saturday.
Any given Saturday, something could happen, but I just don't see it. But I think Conor is going to win this any given Saturday. I think that Poirier, like I said, for an interim champion that he's been, like I said, I'm escaping me right now if I'm ahead of his featherweight or lightweight. I think it was lightweight.
It's lightweight.
Thank you.
I looked it up.
Thank you.
It was the
UFC.com's got to update their rankings, but I had to dig it up.
Obviously the year off is concerning because the last time he had such a long layoff, things didn't go very well. Mm-hmm. Obviously the Cerrone fight was a little bit of a delay, but I mean, he just, Cowboy was not ready for the moment.
No.
He was definitely, you could see it from the time that he started walking out from the entrance, a little bit of deer in headlights. No disrespect against Cowboy.
No, but that's been something that's haunted him his entire career.
Right. And I mean, Poirier, I don't know well enough. I mean, obviously he's had big fights and everything. But I just, it's a different thing, especially with Conor now evolving his game to the grappling, not so much the grappling, but the standing, the tie-ups and everything, the clinches, with that shoulder of doom. If he breaks that out, is that going to cause a problem? I mean, literally breaking Cowboy's nose in a matter of moments, change that fight.
Absolutely.
Had, maybe if, he didn't break his nose 30 seconds into the fight, maybe Cerrone would have been able to hang on a little bit longer and land some punches himself and maybe gone to the second round, Yeah,
it's one of those situations with Cerrone. I mean, you talk about guys that have gone through battles, and I mean, how many fights he's done in a year, let alone that. I mean, he's fought more times in a year than people do in their entire career.
Sure.
I think it's just the wear and tear has caught up with him. I mean, Poirier is kind of cut from that same cloth to a degree because he has been in some battles. Like, if you want to really go through his career, it's a stellar career if you want to see action-packed fights. I just think at this stage, this is Conor's to do, and I think that the year off, he might have some cage rust. Maybe. I don't think he is. I think that he's going in fully intent that this is going to be that final run.
But and that and his game, like his fight game has evolved so much from that first fight with Poirier to where it is now, where he's going to throw something new that you haven't seen, that you're not ready for, that it's going to cut you off guard.
It's going to be a real interesting fight to watch. So I think we're all in unison that Conor is winning this one.
Yeah.
So, I know you are.
I mean, what do you say?
Yeah, I know. It would be shocked to say otherwise. But if you want to see some more live reaction this weekend, UFC 257 will be on wherever you watch your great UFC fights. And we will be live reacting on twitch.tv/607podcast. Diesel will be in the house.
Oh, boy.
He's waiting for you, Coach.
Yeah, hey. I mean, Aaron's excited. We are, locked in, babysitting and everything. So we are good to go.
Oh, can't wait for this. So definitely you want to join in that chat, drop that follow, and definitely give us your picks for UFC 257. And what's your thoughts about Khabib coming back? Are you for it or against it, and why? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do not adjust your dial. Or, your phone, your watch, or whatever the heck you're using to listen to the awesome podcast you're currently listening to. I am the Duke of Nerds, Tyler Mack. And I am here to tell you that being a nerd can be a bit overwhelming, especially after 30. Life moves pretty fast in our nerd culture, and if you don't take the time to notice things, you miss out. That's why I'm here. As your Duke of Nerds, I am charged with educating, enlightening, and entertaining you on all things nerdy. I do it by running the 30 to Nerdy podcast. 30 to Nerdy is a Badcast Company production and currently playing wherever you cast your pod. Follow along each episode using the hashtag 30andNerdyPod. And check out what all is going on at 30andNerdyPodcast.com. Whether it's DC, Marvel, comics, or video games, I have got you covered. So tune in now. Cheers to you, nerds.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Time to round the bases and take the show home.
Got to talk a little bit of baseball. And, Brian Cashman must have been listening to the end of the episode last week.
I heard he does listen to the show.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me because, as I said at the end of last week's show, Brian Cashman, signed DJ LeMahieu. What are you waiting for? My prayers were answered a couple days later. The Yankees agreed to a deal with second baseman DJ LeMahieu for a steal of a deal.
Yeah.
6 years, $90 million contract. Absolute steal of a deal. Locks him up for probably the rest of his career. He's in his early to mid 30s, so probably the rest of his career. Only player in Major League history to win a batting title in both the American League and National League. He finished third in the American League MVP voting. Last year he was fourth the year before, so definitely a huge move, but the Yankees weren't done there. Just the other day, the Yankees agreed to a 1-year, $11 million deal with two-time American League Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber to bring him down to New York. He's 34 years old. In 9 years with the Cleveland Indians, he went 98-58 with a 3.16 ERA. When he won his first Cy Young in 2014, he went 18-9. And then during his second Cy Young year, he went 18-4 and led the American League with a 2.25 ERA. Low risk, high reward type of deal. If he's in his dominant form of his two Cy Young years with Cleveland, he's definitely an upgrade. I also think this means the end of the Masahiro Tanaka era in New York, and you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah, with Tanaka asking for 15-20 a year
15,
or something.
20, yeah. I mean, the signs are pointing to him going back to Japan and pitching in Japan for a higher deal, which, okay.
Yeah, go get your money, but I don't think you're going to get that at this stage in your Major League Baseball
especially
career.
when he gave up as many home runs as he did.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we got the machine back in the Bronx. That's what matters.
La machine.
Coach?
Yeah, I ended up touching on my base with the Knicks being on a 2-game win streak, so I'm going to switch it up and do a little lacrosse as the Premier League announced that they are going to have back to a touring base model for the 2021 season after being one of the first two leagues to start with the bubble by being in Utah. So the season's going to start June 4th, 2021. It will include a schedule of 43 games. That's 11 weekends. With the tour-based model. So, obviously, if you are in lacrosse and looking for that and fans are allowed to be at places that they announce and you feel comfortable going, find yourself a way to get there.
Enough said. So for my base, got to talk a little wrestling.
Okay.
Wrestling.
Now, it's been somewhat stellar TV. I know Impact Wrestling had their big pay-per-view. I did it on the Blogs Count Anywhere preview for Hard to Kill.
Which apparently Ethan Page was not happy with.
Heyo.
Well, the segment is him versus Karate Man.
Yes.
So in Impact fashion, wacky hijinks.
Which it wasn't supposed to be. Apparently it was supposed to. He shot it in a very serious manner. And the way that they edited it made it a straight comedy.
Yeah, it's something when Impact, I guess I will do a minor spoiler, when they decide to do these weird murder angles, it always comes off odd.
Yeah.
Like they have a history of killing off characters.
Which I think is kind of, it's fun. It's
fun.
different, Yeah.
Yeah.
Christ, how many times has WWE killed Vince?
Right. So this time, obviously, with Ethan Page and the Karate Man, it was what you expected. And he is now a free agent, which I fully suspect he will be going to AEW as soon as everything is permitted for him to go there. The rest of the week was pretty much summed up with Alexa Bliss did a Haruken to end Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
That was something.
It was something. Obviously, Drew McIntyre tested positive for COVID, so he was off the card, and Triple H came in to be filler duty, and, it was what it was.
Yeah.
SmackDown is still the best show that nobody's really watching, per se, because, damn, they are doing a lot of cool things that I'm kind of surprised that the internet has not lit up. I know they're doing well in the ratings. They're obviously drawing near 3 a week on Friday. But the fact that Shinsuke Nakamura is now getting a push, Cesaro won over Daniel Bryan.
Yep. Shinsuke got his old music back. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And Roman Reigns is still involved in the best angle in all of pro wrestling, and it has now been booked for him and Kevin Owens for the Royal Rumble. Last man standing, I believe?
Yep. I believe so, yeah.
So we're going to get weird again. And obviously, those two have great chemistry. But it's been pretty just even keel for wrestling, as obviously everybody's building up for their shows.
So the only thing I know that was announced for WWE was the next 3 years, or current plus 2 years of WrestleMania, where this year it is taking place in Raymond James Stadium down in Tampa Bay again, which I know Kevin Owens is excited about because I saw the other day he simply tweeted out a photo of the ship in Raymond James Stadium, so you know he's going to be looking at
He has not forgotten.
No, he is not. Next year it is going to be taking place. Also, we should note this year 2 nights again. Next year it is taking place in Dallas at Jerry World, and then the year after it is taking place at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Yes, because I was bringing up. And for anybody that's like asking about why they're recycling stadiums, look, with everything going on with COVID, Vince wants to have fans in the stadiums.
Right.
I think also the reason they might have switched between, because they were going to come back to Tampa Bay because they lost out.
Right, yeah,
because
that was
going
to happen regardless.
And I think the plan was for them to go to California this year, but given what's going on with the pandemic and the numbers in California right now, not the best idea.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they were going to go to Los Angeles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact they're given the 2-year window, but they can still do WrestleMania with fans in Tampa and then in Dallas because Texas is having fans in the stadium, it makes the most sense. Because I remember I was hearing some chatter online about that. I'm like, no, it makes sense because of why.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're all being very optimistic about the future. So when we can get to other stadiums, they're going to be working through that because I know that I'm waiting to see when they go back to Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah, which I mean, I actually that will be exciting to go in that new stadium. So that will be cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. So definitely, that was the biggest news of the week, and I definitely want to give a quick mention. The AEW Awards are going to be happening.
Oh,
so their version of the Slammy.
Orange Cassidy wins everything.
Yes, they're going to be happening on the Bleacher Report app Wednesday, January 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Voting is open, and the categories are online at www.aewawards.com.
Vote Orange Cassidy for everything.
Exactly. Enough said there. So let's close out with giving our predictions for the big games this weekend. Pad, lead us off.
Green Bay is going to win the NFC game, and then Kansas City is going to win the AFC game.
Coach?
Green Bay, and only because I am cheering for them, and they have not let me down yet, I'm going to go with the Bills.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, Coach.
Only because when I've picked them, they have not failed me.
This is true.
So
you've picked them at least 2 weeks in the playoffs, and they've won both games.
And I am very, very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
I will not hear the egregious slander that comes across the table here.
Yeah.
So that being said, Buccaneers at Packers is the first game, Sunday, 3:05. Packers are favored by 3.5. I like the Packers a lot in this one.
Yep.
I like Aaron Rodgers big. I will even say a 28-24 win.
Okay.
So that flipping the coin to the Chiefs hosting the Bills, 6:40 Eastern Standard Time. Chiefs are favored only by 3.
Well, that's because we don't know what the status of Mahomes right now.
Right, exactly. But that's a typical standard for a home opener when it's kind of split. So that being said, there's no way I'm not picking my Bills.
You have to.
I have to. Yeah, that was a no-brainer. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game, so I definitely like the over in this one.
Oh, Christ,
This is going to be a video game thing. This could be in the 40s for both teams. I don't see the defense really mattering.
This is going to be a game that no matter who wins this game, they go to do film in whatever week it ends up being, whether it's next week or the week after for the Super Bowl. They don't pay attention to that tape.
No, they definitely don't. So
toss it out.
It's going to be a wild scenario either way, so definitely stay tuned this weekend for the games and hit us up at OD Parlay Hour for more information on that. So that all being said, the music you heard on this edition of the ODPH is that of Brian Wolf. He's our good friend from Fair City Fire. He has his Patreon concerts going on, and I believe this week he's doing a split concert, like a versus battle.
So he's figuring out, I know because I watched a bit of the one last week, he's figuring out the technology, and he's going to have a guest on.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun to find out. Now, Pad, where do you go to find out about that?
OchoDuroParlayHour.com.
Right on. You head on over to the music section. You can check out everything going on with Brian, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Yard Party, Floodlands, Shout of the Robots, all the great bands you hear on the ODPH. You can also stop on over to the directory, which has friends of the show, organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter, all the amazing pod groups we are in, because I say this once, Pat, I say this again. Do you know the golden rule?
The one with the gold makes the rules?
Aladdin?
Yeah, that is an Aladdin quote.
Wow.
I went deep there.
Pad stretch for that one, but he got the touchdown for that. No, my friend, the rule is if you claim that you are in a pod group and that group is not on Podchaser and you don't have your page on there, you're not in a pod group. So that being said, I definitely want to give a shout out to the groups we are in because you can find us all on Podchaser. So shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to Alternate Reality Radio, shout out to the Legion Independent Podcast, shout out to the aPODalypse, And, of course, shout out to hashtag 607 Podcast and our good friends over at 8122 Productions, Rich, Ron, Mike C, and hashtag Big Natty Cool, who will be in the house on Twitch this weekend.
Viewer discretion will be advised.
We're telling you, him versus Coach Duffy versus the trophy wife. Fireworks, folks. Fireworks, like Katy Perry was in the room. You want to find out more about that? The links are all there. And you can jump right in on our TeePublic store, the Twitch channel. Everything that is the ODPH can be found on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Coach Duffy got so worked up about Conor McGregor, he actually went home to go search for that embedded. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy, and for the one and only Padawan J.
That's not true. Coach went to go interview for the Eagles.
Man, you had to blow up his spot, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Get the tables. See you next time.